Hi, uh, my name is Andrew Shimkus, and I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the Center for Anxiety's Rockland County office. And so this video is for the March 2021 newsletter, which marks 12 months from the start of the COVID-19 lockdowns. And so, yeah, it's been a year since they started. And as we reflect on the last 12 months, we can notice a lot of changes. And while we were all on some level involved in being locked down or in quarantine, it can also be helpful to recognize that quarantine was only one dimension of the COVID-19 crisis. If, for example, we saw economic devastation and the deaths of loved ones and adjusting to a new way of life. And within this context, one shift has been people's experiences of feeling connected. And for example, the American Psychological Association, or APA, released a report surrounding stress and the mental health crisis in America. And one finding was that Gen Z adults are the most likely to endorse feeling very lonely during the pandemic. More specifically, 63% of Gen Z adults report or confirm feeling this way, relative to 53% of millennials, 43% of Gen Xers, 35% of boomers, and 17% of older adults. And this speaks to a larger issue, as some folks of all age groups have experienced some sort of loneliness over the last 12 months. And after all, we're social creatures. And the pandemic and the cascading effects of quarantine and lockdown have highlighted the importance of building and/or maintaining connections and the diversity of possible connections one can foster. So because of this, we can use this video to discuss some strategies to help do so. So first, think to yourself, within the context of building connections, what specifically would be beneficial for you? What values are important for you to incorporate? And this is helpful as the way in which we all operationalize being connected, it will differ from person to person. So for example, some may be fulfilled through improving relationships within a friend group. For others, it may consist of being closer to a religious deity or cultural practices. And with however you may define feeling connected, we can take that information and use it to inform a systematic approach to goal achievement, which is called an action plan. And an action plan consists of 6 parts. The first part is the goal. So what am I interested in doing or achieving? Being connected can be maybe the specific interest of a goal achievement for this example. So let's say someone wants to foster a connection with a distant family member with whom they haven't spoken with in recent years. Okay. After defining the goal as we did, next we can figure out the steps to take to reach the connection that this individual might seek. And these are called the actions to take. So with the actions to take, it's important to be as concrete as possible through the exercise, particularly with this part, as to have a clear direction we seek to go. For example, progress in reaching out from time to time could be more difficult to measure than calling the family member on the phone 3 nights per week. We want the actions to be measurable, and when they're clear, they're easier to commit to and thus most conducive to follow through. The third dimension of the plan is recognizing the time to begin. So when are you able to start engaging in the actions for the plan? How can you effectively schedule it? Is this something that would be possible to do only outside of work hours or before work? But what does all that look like? The next step we have is identifying the possible problems, and following along with that, what are the things that we can do to alleviate the problems in the future? So oftentimes in the pursuits of goal achievement, we run into issues. And these are simply the factors that might interfere with the planned actions. And sometimes the larger the undertaking, the more potential problems. However, so long as we identify the possible problems, we can troubleshoot in advance. So thinking about the strategies to overcome the problems that you identified can be helpful to think about prior to engagement in the actions, given whenever the time to begin might be. To think, all right, how will I adjust or modify what I'm doing to persist in the goal achievement, even if there are things that are disrupting the process. Finally, the last part of the plan is monitoring progress. So for each stage of the plan, everything is laid out, and the monitoring dimension of the exercise provides a space to document where you're at in the context of reaching the goal of, let's say, being connected, for example. And because we operationalized each step of the plan, as we achieve progress, noting that progress can serve as a positive reinforcer, meaning we committed to something of value and interest and made us feel good, which can contribute to the likelihood that we might continue to do it in the future. Now, again, when we think about being or getting more connected, we don't necessarily need to limit how we contextualize it. We can strive to be more connected with ourselves, our our hobbies, our interests, our culture, and our values. If these are things that you become less connected to or less connected with, certainly reflecting on what feeling connected looks like for you can be helpful in this process. Now, support is critical, especially as we transition to the coming months, and steps discussed in this video, can certainly help you work to reach perhaps that sense of individual or community belonging, in terms of maybe sense of self or even connectivity with others, which is a strong protective factor in psychotherapy. So, and with that, please be sure to take care and stay safe.